everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rupkata Bhattacharjee and you are watching my channel which is named after me because I like creativity. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about my favorite or top 5 reads of 2021 in no particular order. I have been talking about the books that I disliked in my previous videos. If you have not watched it or want to check it out, the link is in the description. You can just go and watch it after watching this video, please. So I thought that I read 94 books this year, and from those 94 I rated 28 5 stars. But even in the 5-star category, there were some books that I liked more than the other book, even though I rated both of them 5 stars. And from there, choosing my top 5 reads was a pretty hard task. But here I am with 5 books that were my absolute favorite in the year 2021. And let's just dig in without any more obstructions. So the first book is The Poppy War by Rebecca F. Kuang. The Poppy War is different than what I usually read. I stick to not very dark or grim YA fantasy, which are more based on romance and they are on politics or the fantasy aspect. The Poppy War, though, it's adult fantasy, and not only that, it is one of the darkest books that I have read this year, based on the Sino-Japanese War of real life. This book takes aspects from Chinese culture and mixes them with the author's interpretation of a fantasy world which is based on real life historical events. Now, I am a history buff. I love history, so I had knowledge of all the events that this book was based on: the Sino-Japanese War, Unit 731, and the World War II, which this book is somewhat inspired from, as well as the Opium Wars between the British and the Chinese. This book takes a lot of China's history and mixes them into the fantasy world. So if you're not really interested in reading something that is not unique in world building, since this book draws inspiration from real life, this one is not for you. But for me, this was everything that I could have asked for in a fantasy book. Let's start with the premise of this book. So Rin, or Fang Runin, is a village girl who is adopted by a family, Auntie Fang or the family Fang, who do not really like her and see her as a burden. So they plan to marry her off at the young age of 14, or I think she's 12, I don't remember the age exactly. But Rin is completely against this idea, as any normal child would be, and she decides to appeal to her aunt to give her a few more years so that she can attempt the Keju, or the hardest exam in the fictional world of Nikan, to get into the admired Singard University kind of thing. Singard is an educational institution which is a school for military strategics, and it creates or builds the next military generals for Nikan. Nikan, the fantasy world which is set on, is inspired from China and is a world that has been torn apart by brutal conflict that were the Poppy Wars. There had been 2 Poppy Wars previously between Nikan and its neighboring country, the Federation of Mugen, and in this war, Rin was orphaned, which led to her adoption by the aforementioned family. So after studying really hard for this, Rin passes the Keju and is admitted into the Singard University, where she meets this eccentric professor Jiang. So Master Jiang teaches her how to be a good student, be a good military general, and be in touch with her own spiritual matters. And they realize that Rin has the power of shamanism, an ancient fighting technique that allows a person to have a god or one of the Chinese gods in them. Now, upon realizing that Rin has this power, she is in a dilemma whether to use it or whether not to use it, because this power, it could destroy her, it could corrupt her, and it could make her destroy the entire world herself. But unknown to others, or the normal people of Nikan, the third Poppy War is on the rise as soldiers from the Mugen Federation of Mugen slowly move into Nikan, looking to colonize the land of Nikan, or just like, not colonize, that not a word that I would use, because the Mugenese want to take the land for themselves and clear it of the Nikara. One thing that I'll say, this book is not for the light-hearted. I enjoyed reading it very much. R.F. Kuang's characterization of Rin and the side characters, I'll not spoil it, is wonderful. I loved reading about Rain's character. She starts off as a young child with no knowledge but only fierce determination, and she grows into a completely different person with cause by the end of this book. The plot of this book is steadfast. There is a good pacing, it's medium paced throughout. There is nothing like the book does not become unbearably slow at places, or does not go incredibly fast at places. The author has this grip on the story which really makes you want to read it till the end in one sitting. One thing that I think many people will not like about this book, it would be that it does not have good world building. The world building is completely inspired from the real life politics and dynamics between China, Japan, and the foreigners or other countries that were involved in the World War II, or even involved in China in the Sino-Japanese War. So this book is pretty enjoyable, but it is different from other fantasy books since it is incredibly plot driven and not character driven. The plot is something, there's a huge plot twist towards the end, which if you know about the real life events that took place, you will know about it. But if you do not know about the history of real life, you will definitely enjoy it. And even if you do know the history, this is an enjoyable read that I recommend everyone should try. I also really enjoyed the action scenes and the character dynamics and the atmosphere of this book. This book could be really divided into 3 parts. The first part being Rain's childhood, the middle part being Rain's time at the university, and the last part being Rain's time working in the military. And all these 3 parts, part 1, part 2 and part 3, have a different atmosphere to them that the author has done a really good job at detailing. You can really see the things play out in front of your eyes. It feels like watching a movie and not reading a book. This is something that I'll recommend till the day I die, and if you are interested in it and or have read it, leave a comment down below. I'll be really happy to discuss it with you. The next book is The Boy with Fire by Aparna Verma. The Boy with Fire is set in the fictional kingdom of Revenge, which is preparing for a transfer of power from the current king Leo Revenge to his daughter, soon to be Queen Elena Revenge. Now, there is a lot of politics involved in this book, and all of the characters, we have 3 main characters, Elena, Leo and Yesen, are extremely morally grey. Actually, I'll say they are morally grey, but leaning towards the darker side than on the better side. They make questionable decisions through the book. They make decisions that you will be grossed out by. You will be like, that's not a good person. But this book really does a good way, a brilliant way of showcasing the moral decay of our main character, especially Leo. So I'll give you an introduction to the characters one by one. Elena Revenge is the heir to the Ravani throne. Now, as she prepares to become the queen, she realizes that she needs more. She needs to wield the power that is the fire of the phoenix. The phoenix is a mythological god in this book, and every heir to the throne should know how to walk the path of Agnipath, or to know how to walk through fire. But Elena is too weak to do it. The fire burns her every time she tries to do it, and her father is not very hopeful about her ascension to the throne. But Elena is determined. She is nothing if not ambitious, and she thinks that if she can find out what happened to her mother, if she can find out her mother's secrets, then she will be the best queen that Revenge has ever seen. Leo Revenge is a man soon to be nothing. He is king for so many years, but now his daughter is going to ascend the throne instead of him. And Leo thinks that his reign should not come to an end. He believes that he still has things that are left to do. He still has conquest to make. He still has stuff to go through. And Leo is a borderline tyrannical ruler. Leo makes decisions that are questionable throughout the book. Leo's entire character arc was extremely good. So our next character is Yesen Knight. Yesen Knight has never fit in Revenge because he his father belonged to another country who is an enemy of the Kingdom of Revenge. This country has been trying its level best to colonize the Kingdom of Revenge, and since since Yesen's features match those of his father from the other kingdom, he has been ostracized in Revenge for a long time. Not only that, but Yesen was also a member of a guild of assassins till an injury burned his name in the sand, which means that he was forced to quit the assassins guild. And now he has to work as a personal guard for Elena, the Princess of Revenge, if he wants to live. It is either being forced to do something at the whims of the princess that hates him, or it's instant execution. And Yesen would rather like to live. One thing that I love about this book is that it has a very good build up to the climax. It's not anticlimactic, which some books tend to be. Rather, the author has a good grip on where she wants the story to go and how she wants to tackle the plot moving forward. This book has some good old tropes like enemies to lovers, love triangle, marriage of convenience. These tropes somehow are always written quite bad, but the execution of the tropes, especially enemies to lovers and slow burn in The Boy with Fire, was excellent. The world building, I love the world building. Now, world building is something that I crave when authors write a fantasy book, especially high fantasy books, which The Boy with Fire is not. It's not a high fantasy, but boy, does it do a good job as a fantasy book. I would not say it's a low fantasy, but it's also not a high fantasy. It is somewhere in the middle. Rather a political fantasy. It cannot be categorized as low or high. So The Boy with Fire has such amount of history in it. The world of Boy with Fire, the places of worship, religion, the characters itself are so well developed and so well written that it is quite a joy. It's a feast for your mind, it's a feast for your eyes to be reading this amazing book. Aparna Verma's writing style was also pretty good. It was pretty simple, so if you're a beginner to fantasy, it won't be a problem to you, like it was not to me. There's no amount of purple prose, just good writing, but there was some flowery lines which were extremely well written. I mean, a lot of times we come across these lines in books that are meant to be poetic but just turn out flat out cringe. But Aparna Verma does a great job of writing her poetic lines, her flowery lines, and overall, The Boy with Fire was the literal embodiment of perfection for me. I'm really excited to see read the other books that are going to be out. Since this is a trilogy, I am really excited for the next 2 books. There's also mystery in this book, which is pretty well written. There are red herrings, there is a subtle amount of foreshadowing in the book, which makes this a joyous treat. I mean, I was given an arc of this book, and applying for that arc was one of the best decisions of my life because I loved it so much. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Muhathir and Max Gladstone. My copy is pretty damaged and I always forget the names of the authors. This one is about time travel, and I cannot tell you much about it without spoiling the premise for you. It's a book that you should go in blind because it's such a treat. The language, I'll just straighten my camera a bit. Yes. The language is poetic. This is poetry disguised as a book. And if you're not a fan of flowery language, you would not like it. But this is a literary masterpiece. So we have 2 time traveling agents, Red and Blue, of 2 different, you could say, companies per se, or 2 different organizations who want 2 very different futures for them, and these 2 organizations, they send in agents to tie in different timelines, time branches, and to fix stuff in the past to ensure that the future that will form is better for the other company and complete eradication for their enemies. Red and Blue, 2 agents who are from the said enemy organizations, meet each other through a series of letters that they leave while on their missions to tying up threads of time and ensuring victory for their own organizations. And this is enemies to lovers at its best. And not only that, this book is wonderful. I mean, I am speechless when I try to talk about this book because I loved it so much. So this book is a series of letters addressed from red to blue and vice versa. These letters are borderline mocking to borderline love letters, you could say, sort of. They were extremely well written, and the authors had such different yet well blending writing styles. Like, I could characterize or I could distinguish which author wrote which chapter or which letter, but together they went together so well that it was like the cherry on top of an extremely good cake. One thing that I did not enjoy about this per se was a plot twist at the end. It was pretty generic. I saw it coming from a mile away, but that did not rain on my spirits because this book in itself was extremely good. A bit flat due to the ending, but I can excuse that because of the amazing writing style and the dynamics between the character. The build up to the ending was pretty good, even though it fell a bit anticlimactic. Overall, this book, if you're looking for a short novella to read which is extremely good, which is well written and has well developed character, This Is How You Lose the Time War is definitely the book you should go for. I need to catch my breath. I've been talking constantly for a few minutes now. This book that I will talk about and which was absolutely amazing to read was Heartstopper by Elise Ousmane. Now, this is really a series kind of thing because none of the Heartstopper books disappointed me. I loved reading each and every one of them. The Heartstopper books is a sweet coming-of-age graphic novel series that I will not be talking about much because I'm already tired and my throat is dry and sore. So the Heartstopper has a really good teenage characters. I mean, authors while writing, especially non-teenage authors, when they write teenage characters, they write it pretty bad. Either they use language that I've never heard a teenager speak in real life, or they make it seem that teenagers are devils on the planet who are basically mini adults and do crimes all the time. But Heartstopper is not like that. It shows teenagers as teenagers. It's quite real, it is raw, and the characters are absolutely amazing. I love all of Elise Ousmane's books, and I think they do a great job while writing mental health and mental illness, which is still a taboo topic in a lot of books. A lot of books portraying teenagers do not properly brush up on the mental struggles that a lot of teenagers face or may be facing, but Elise Ousmane does not shy away from those topics. This book starts off as gentle and sweet and slowly moves into darker territories, which I thought was very good. I mean, this could have been a cutesy rom-com kind of thing, but Elise Ousmane decided to step up and discuss things that are not usually discussed in the YA genre, especially in the YA romance genre. The talks about bullying that takes place in this book, about depression, about eating disorders, it was quite well written. I really enjoyed how Elise Ousmane tried to show that you cannot depend on your loved ones to cure you out of your own illness. You have to see professionals for that. And I thought it was quite an enjoyable read. I read it quite fast. I read all the 3 volumes in one day, and then I waited till the 4th volume came out. And then after reading the 4th volume, I read the remaining of the graphic novels on Webtoon. I cannot wait till January 1st when Elise Ousmane will return from hiatus. I think that's how it's pronounced, hiatus. And I cannot wait for the next update of Heartstopper. If you're looking for something good, something to get you out of a reading slump, something to make your day better, Heartstopper is definitely the book series that you should be reading. It's very good. It is absolutely good. It is something that I think everyone should read at least once in their life. And Technically, I have seen no person hating on Heartstopper. It's that good. Anyone who reads Heartstopper will probably rate it 5 stars or 10 stars or even 20 stars, unless they are somewhat of a critic and are really here to judge the book. All in all, Heartstopper is the delight package. If you read Heartstopper, you are ensured to love it and have a great day ahead. Okay, we'll move to the last book that I read and absolutely loved. It is On a Sunbeam by Tillie Walton. Now, one thing you might see in a lot of graphic novels is that the plot of the book ends before there is any huge character development or a huge plot development. Graphic novels are short and basically serve no purpose except for Heartstopper. There is no Heartstopper slander in this house. Okay, On a Sunbeam by Tillie Walton is 600 plus pages. It is a detailed, well-written graphic novel and is honestly one of the best graphic novels that I have read in this year. On a Sunbeam by Tillie Walton is set in space in an alternate universe where humans can live on distant planets. They can live throughout space, and our main character, whose name I do not remember, so much for being in love with this book. So our main character, after a pretty rough school years, she decides to join this crew of people who travel throughout space and reconstruct and work on monuments that are scattered through the entirety of the universe. Sometimes they turn an ancient temple into an office space, or a really old graveyard into a shopping mall. Now, when she joins, our main character joins this crew, she soon sets out on a quest to locate and join her old high school girlfriend that she wants to find. She is desperate to find. Her girlfriend in high school disappeared without a trace, and she does not know where she can locate her best friend, the person she was really close to, again. And she, with her crew, who soon become a family, they become really close, set out on this quest to infiltrate a planet that no one has left in a long time. On a Sunbeam by Tillie Walton has a really good plot. Not only that, but it also has a considerable amount of subplot that focus on all the side characters that are there present in the novel, apart from our main character. My camera is moving a lot. It's because it's on a carpet and I'm kicking the carpet, so the camera is moving back. Okay, so not only is this heartwarming, but it keeps you on the edge of your seat because of the tension that is present in the novel, because of the gripping story. And overall, it is a very unique novel which is set in space. I would like to read some more graphic novels or even short stories that are based on this book, based on the world building of this book, because it is a premise that I have not seen before. Tillie Walton does an extremely good job of writing good characters. The painting style or the art style of this book is quite aesthetically pleasing. And overall, On a Sunbeam is, even though a very fat book, you can read it in no time because how well written it is and how fast paced it is. There is considerable character development, which is something that is lacking in graphic novels. There is good plot development and there is good found family, and any book with found family in it is a good book. I do not make the rules. So these were my top 5 reads for the year 2021. I'll be making a pretty more videos which are based on my reading on all the books that I read in the year 2021. And if you would like to watch them, make sure to hit the like, share and subscribe button and the bell icon so you are the first person to watch my videos. There are links in the description that might interest you, so go check them out. And with that, we are done. Thank you for watching. Be safe during this pandemic and goodbye.